Yeah, Michael Pilypaitis, District 3. Yep, born in Omaha, raised here. Graduated from Omaha Central. I like that it has a big feel and a little feel at the same time. Like we get some big concerts, which is fun sometimes, but we also have like the small town feel where you run into people that you think like, oh man, I haven't seen you forever. Like, you know, it's just a small world and you get to run into somebody that you just haven't seen in a while. I'd say just seeing how people get represented here. And there was a couple years ago in District 4, the person that was in there got indicted, and there was a replacement process, and it was they ended up just getting replaced via the people already on the board. And I felt like there should be a voice for the people that live there. There's 2 more years left in the term, and I wanted to have them have a special election. And I was like, you know, this is something that really was important to me to give people a voice. And so I was like, you know what, why don't I run for this? You know, I think there's something to be said for putting yourself out there and using your voice to, you know, represent people like that. So that was one of the big catalysts for me. And then also just in general, I feel like there's just a lot of spending going on that I think that could be done better. And I think we could, you know, come up with stuff that's going to work for the whole city and not just a handful of people. Yeah, so the city council works with the mayor on things. So instead of just having one person make all the decisions, we have a body of people that work together to come up with ideas, run them off of each other, and also to hold each other in check to make sure that one person or one group of people isn't abusing their power. So it's a way to kind of work together, and you also have more representation, so more people spread throughout the city to get different voices and get different perspectives. So it's a way to have more listening power instead of just 1 or 2 people. Yeah, I'd say my top priority is around public transportation. So I'm very passionate about giving everyone an opportunity. So if you don't have a car, it's pretty tough to not only get around, but it'd be tough to work. You're very limited in your options, especially if you wanted to work across town. So I envision a place where no matter where you live, that you should be able to get to where you want to work, or just even where you just want to lounge around and do whatever, like have some fun. But you shouldn't be limited by that. You should be able to have cheap and effective, fast transportation, not too much longer than a car. And I think that's going to help businesses. It's going to help workers. It's going to just help everyone have a better city that we can all depend on and all have a great opportunity. Yeah, so definitely some of the issues around, you know, traffic problems and crashes and things, I think we could use a little bit more road diet options where we can slow down some traffic, maybe have things curve around, have some peanuts put in, like talk to experts in the traffic field where we can figure out ways to slow things down where we need to. And, you know, it's not always, you know, we think of maybe like a speed bump or something, but sometimes that's not feasible. You know, I've talked to people on 50th Street and people plow through there real fast. I mean, I talked to a woman who said when she's sitting on her porch, if there's a cat out in the street, she goes inside. She doesn't want to see it happen, you know? So there's just little things like that where we can try to come up with something with the experts and say, what can we do about this? And then as far as the streetcar, you know, I think personally that it should have been put up for a vote to the voters to decide what should have happened. I mean, we did that. We've done that for other big projects in the past. And I'm definitely all for having an option like that, but it just wouldn't have been my first spot of where to put the first rails. I think there's other places, you know, it would have been cool to have something, or maybe not be fixed rail, have it be something where it can move around and have an option where we could go from the zoo to downtown or something along 13th Street. So I just think that we should have had more input from the voters and also listen to experts. Even like Warren Buffett said it wasn't the best idea. So I think there's a lot of voices that we need to be listening to, and yeah, that's a big one. You know, we've got a lot of TIF money coming through where it's supposed to, you know, we have new developments coming in, but we need to hold the developers accountable to actually build housing that's going to be affordable. So too often that money is spent on areas that would have been developed anyway, such as 72nd and Dodge Crossroads, and there's a lot of wasted money with that because we should be using it in more blighted areas that wouldn't be developed otherwise, and make sure that when we do develop them, like I said, that it actually help with affordable housing. We could also look at subsidies for rent for homeless people, especially for our veterans. I mean, it's that always makes me really sad to think about they serve their country, and we can't even help them get a place to live sometimes. Right now, I've talked to some people that work in those areas, and they say that there's just nothing available. Even if they do have funding and help to get there, there's just so limited options available as far as where to live. So we need to work with developers on that to make sure we're having solutions that don't work just for them, but works actually for the city and for the people that live here, so we can, have a home for everyone. Yeah, I think with public safety, definitely a broad issue. We sort of hit on it a little bit ago with the public transportation, where even just walking around, sometimes that doesn't feel safe. So, we can look again at having some options to slow traffic down in certain areas for bicyclists and for just people walking around. I think there's a lot of concern around that. The other thing is with police, I know a lot of times we could have other services step in, to have more mental health professionals be on certain calls. Because a lot of times, I've known police officers, they didn't sign up for this to just to show up for someone that is really just a mental health concern. So I think we could alleviate that. We could look at, Denver has the STAR project, where they have a team of health professionals that will show up for certain situations and kind of alleviate some of the burden of our police officers, so they can actually go after more violent crimes or more, serious things instead of, just kind of use everyone's expertise. I'm very proud of our law enforcement, and I would like to have their, I would like to have their talents be best used and use professionals in other areas to be best used for that. Yeah, I think we can definitely look at it. I would want to know the details of where it's going, and just with anything, I know that we can't always increase everything. Sometimes we need to take a look and say, is this money being well spent, or is there any fat that we can trim? I want to make sure that that our officers are well equipped and that they're able to do their job, obviously. But at the same time, I know that sometimes we can take a look and say, what is there something that we can trim, and see if there's any savings that we can pass on to the taxpayers. And also would love to see some of that money spent to help alleviate some of the problems that we have. So let's put more money in parks. Let's put more money in social programs to give kids something to do. Instead of having to be policed, let's create more opportunities for people to have a safe place, and that just to, again, alleviating them so that they can focus on, some of the more violent issues and the stuff to help keep us safe. Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of small businesses. That's what I've always thought of being the American dream, is that someone can just start a business and have success with it. And a lot of times we have developments that maybe favor some of the bigger companies already. And I think we need to help create opportunities, whether that be through special grants or subsidies, to help people start up small businesses, and encourage that. I know, the first thing comes to mind is real estate. Like, I know it's tough to get an affordable place to be able to lease and start up a business. So, maybe some help around there. And also, as far as business, having jobs that can pay enough to help people live. Like, it's just kind of a very, it all relates to each other, where we need to be able to have people that can afford to live, so that way we can patronize these businesses. And, so we just need to incentivize and encourage businesses to have livable wages, and also help small businesses, people that want to start something up, so we can have more competition. Yeah, I know that we recently passed the climate plan, and I think that's a great start. And I'd like to go even further. I think that, there's the effects of climate change are happening faster and faster. We're seeing it with storms. So I think that we can definitely do more, and I'd love to see that, and encourage people to take care of our city, to take care of the planet in general. Another big one is trash. I talked about parks a little bit. I'd love to see more cleanup with our parks, to take care of them, so we can appreciate nature more. And it's just so good just to get outside, get in the sun, and just expend some energy. And so I'd love to encourage that. But yeah, it's all kind of, to me, it's related to being able to enjoy our planet, and take more steps like the climate plan, and actually, vote on what, if that comes to me, and to vote to put those things in action, I'll vote for it, and I'll make sure that we go even further to protect our environment, especially for my kids. I've got 2 young daughters. I want to make sure that they have a nice, clean planet to live on and that's livable. Yeah, I think we've got some good things in place, like by having our meetings broadcast every Tuesday. I think that's great. I'd like to, for me personally, I want to have a town hall at least once every 3 months for everyone in our district. So I have it different parts around the city and meet and let them know what's going on with the council, what we're going to be voting on, what issues are coming up, but also just to hear from their feedback. I'd love to hear what the people think in my district and know. So that way, when I vote, people know how I'm going to vote, and I'm going to know what's important to them and what should be the way that it should be voting based on what I'm hearing. So I think that that's a big piece of it, is just listening more, because I do think that there's some things happening behind closed doors where people are surprised about the way certain votes happen and the way certain projects are coming down the pike. And I think that we should have definitely more transparency around that. Yeah, definitely. I would love to have places where people could pop in something within walking distance for most people, especially in our more areas with a higher population density. It'd be really cool to have places you could walk or take a bus to be able to stop in and say, I need some help, someone they can talk to. And I don't want money to be a barrier for that. So if somebody needs some help with their mental health, I think that we should have options available, and I'd love to expand that. It's just getting harder and harder, especially with things getting more expensive. That affects your mental health if you can't afford things. I mean, you can try to do everything you can, but if you can't afford a place to live and you're worried about where your next meal and your next rent, or my wife's a teacher. She tells me all the time that one of the biggest problems is just that her kids are hungry. So I mean, and it all relates to mental health. You just can't. It's hard to be happy and have a positive outlook on life if you don't have your basic needs met. So definitely need some more funding for that. And I would be very much in favor of getting more professionals involved and listening to expert opinions. We sometimes are getting away from that, especially on a national level, where we're stopping the listening of the experts. And I think that we need to start doing that again more. I think the big ones are just some of these projects like the streetcar, where we're kind of on the hook for a lot of stuff, so it's going to be hard to make any changes around that. But I think just for future, again, I would love to have big projects like that be put up to the voters and have a special election, or just have it be part of a normal election where we, instead of forcing things through that people don't want. But yeah, so I think there's just some really big ones that we can look at. As far as the other stuff, I would like to look more closely at it and kind of get, look at what other cities are doing that are successful, and kind of go from there. But yeah, definitely, I'm open and to listening. That's my big thing. Like I said, I want to have town halls and listen. So if people aren't happy about the way they're spending money, I want to know, and I want to go with what what the people in my district are saying. I would love to expand the arts. I think that's what makes life beautiful. And as a musician myself, I love going out to see music and just see people. You see people in a different light. Sometimes you might see someone at work and you just think, oh yeah, they're just my coworker and we just work, and then they go home or whatever. But then you get to see a different part of them, where you get to see them creating art. You get to see them creating music. And I'd love to help people have more opportunities for that. So whatever the city can do, I would love to look into that, because I think music and art make people alive. People love to dance. I mean, people love creating things, and it's something that life is so much more boring and ugly without art and music. I think there's some people, just love the bigger city. They love just the energy that could bring. I mean, like me personally, I've been to New York and it was great. I loved it. But it's not for me to live there. I still love that nice place to raise a family. It's affordable. So I think as far as people leaving, I have seen that. And I think that's where we can, again, listen to more people, listen to the dreamers, someone that just has something like, man, I would love to have a place for more jazz music or something, where people could just, in some of the bigger cities, we got places where you can stop in and maybe improvise with some people on stage and just have open stage sometimes. Like if we could do something like that, and I don't know exactly where the city, as a city council person, what I could do, but I'd love to encourage that in any way possible, to encourage people to dream big and to have a place to say like, yeah, this is where I want to shine. and maybe they don't have it right now, but I'm going to stay here and I'm going to fight for it. I want to make Omaha better. And I think we just need to help people with whatever they need to have more opportunities like that. Yeah, no, I don't think that it should be taken away. I think that we need to hear from everybody. We need diverse opinions and ideas. If we all just thought the same, we all the same people, that'd be boring. It's just so yeah. We definitely need to keep it for sure. I mean, I think that it's become a loaded term. So unfortunately, I try to think about it in a different way. Of like, I want everyone to have an opportunity. I want everyone to have a voice, no matter what your background, where you came from. If you've lived here your whole life or you just moved here from another country, like, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what makes you tick. I want to hear what makes you feel alive. And I want to hear your ideas to make things better, because maybe it's something we've never thought of before, the people that have just been in charge for a long time. So I'm always open to hear new things, and you learn something new every day. And so how can you do that if you're not listening to new ideas from new people? Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity to have this meeting. This is great. And I would say, for me, I've never ran for office before, but I'm passionate to do a good job, to listen to the people that I'm going to represent, hopefully, and just to take this as an opportunity to make the city a better place. And I feel like I'm very similar to a lot of people in this district, where I have a family. I want to make my ends meet. I want to do better than my parents did. I want my kids to do better than I did. And I think sometimes that's all you need. And then you just, as far as the rest, then you listen to the people around you and you listen to experts, and you just go from there. And I think it's something that's just important to me to make this city better. And I think that there's too many things going on where we're not doing that, and we're kind of staying stagnant. And I want to help us grow and move forward.